I think there's something wrong with his hind.
I thought this was gonna be an end of the story video. But of course, nothing is going as planned. In 3.5 hours, I am officially the last person again to sit on my horse.
Hi, my name is Isabel, and this is my first horse, Mono Sabio, and this is a story about how he survived a life-saving surgery. Where to begin? It's a long story, but stay tuned. It's a long story with a good ending. So basically, this is Mono. This is my Spanish horse, my PRE horse. He's walking away from me. Well, now almost 2 years ago, I started worrying about his hind end because he's very weak in his hind. With his breed, it's pretty common that they are pretty, unstable in the hind. I started to worry a little bit, but I didn't worry too much because people told me not to worry too much, and I was like, sure, it's my first horse. I don't know, common mistake, but it was a mistake indeed. So in April 2023, my worries grew. I'm happy that I asked my stable owner about this because I expressed my worry to her, and she said, yeah, I have the same worry. I think there's something wrong with his hind because he was tripping a lot through his hind legs, and he was sleeping a lot on the ground, like sleeping laying down. He was also eating laying down. Yeah, everything was just like he was trying to avoid his hind end. So I had the vet come in. He wasn't really lame when you saw him just like this, but the moment he was on those tests where they had to bend his knee and stuff, you could see he was lame, and he was still tripping a lot through his hind end, especially in like the corners. So they took pictures, and apparently he had cysts. What the fuck is cysts? So bone cysts is the official, not the official, but the full term, are holes in the bones. So in the joint, there's an opening into his bone. That. He was lame on the left side on those tests, but on the x-rays, the bone cyst was actually on the right side. Now we have a whole theory behind that now, but that comes later. She sent us to a clinic because if he wasn't bothered by his right hind, why would we treat that, right? So we went to the clinic. We got sent to a clinic close by here, and we went to an orthopedic vet. This is a vet specialized in bones, skeletal thing. An occurring theme with this orthopedic vet is that he is doing everything differently from every other vet I've talked to. Literally, I've talked to so many vets after this, and they're all like, why? So, for starters, we came there and he was silent, and he told us to do another lameness test that we already did. We already knew the results, but he just wanted to do it and got the same results. Then he was like, yeah, I already studied your x-rays. He also has a cyst on the left. I'll show here the pictures, the x-rays, and you can see very clearly that there's this dark spot on the right side, and on the left side there's not really a dark spot, but there is like a flattening of the bone, which is the cyst. Yes, it is a cyst in the clinic that we went for surgery. They also said it was a cyst, but it's not a big of a deal. It shouldn't be a big of a deal. It's not big enough. That's what she said. So then we continued on a different test, which was a test with nerve blocks. They would block the nerve in the left knee and then see if that's actually where the lameness came from. Shocker. It is where the lameness came from. At least that's what he said. I personally didn't see a big difference, so I don't really know. But he said that's where the lameness came from. So we treated both the left and right knees because they both had cysts with steroids. Corticosteroids. Corticosteroids, commonly referred to as steroids. Corticosteroids are a type of anti-inflammatory drug. They are typically used to treat rheumatologic diseases. Basically, if there's an infection in the cyst, this would treat it and it would go away. These infections are typically what makes the cyst hurt, so that's why for this. So we went home, he had 2 days of box rest, and then he had to put to work immediately. That's especially a lot of cantering, so his knees would develop more muscle. He was as lame as can be. Before this thing, he wasn't lame until we did the tests, but now he was as lame as can be. But our vet said, the orthopedic vet said, you have to keep riding him. On hindsight, I've talked to a lot of vets and they all say the other thing. If they're lame, don't ride them at all, ever. No way. But oh well. He had some painkillers, but he was not feeling well on painkillers. He got tummy issues. So we took him off earlier than we should have, but that was our decision. So he was in a little bit of pain, which is, you know, I don't know how that works. Like, how does steroids cause pain? Then a week passed, and he actually started being very, very good on her saddle. Like, extremely good. Like, never been this good. Like, whoa. And then I went on holiday, and someone else started riding my horse, and this has nothing to do with the fact that he became lame again, but it sucked. I am not the last person who has ridden this horse right now. Yeah, so I went on holiday, and the mother of my best friend started riding him, which she's fine with riding him. It's not her fault, but he became lame again. And the vet came, our personal vet came again, and she said, yeah, this didn't work. Maybe, like, we have another solution, but maybe you should think about putting him down. That's a great holiday. Well, that didn't happen. We're, what is it, 3-4 months later? No, 5 months later, and he's still here. So that didn't happen. But what happened then? Well, I contacted my physio for him, equine physio, and she was like, why don't you try a surgery? But my orthopedic vet, you know what he said? He had said on multiple occasions, oh, for the money that you spend on a surgery, you can better buy a new horse. So basically, I thought I was gonna spend 20K on a surgery, which was not true. He also literally said the number 20K, 10K per knee, which was not true at all. So my physio said, okay, I have a few experiences in this, so let me help you. And then I asked my own personal vet, like, do you have experiences with this, and is this the biggest, like, we can try other things, but will this probably be the best solution? And she said, I think this would be the best permanent solution. It's pretty expensive though, but it's probably the best permanent solution. It's a big expense, yes, but I was saving for a second horse, but I'd rather keep him alive than buy a second horse, to be honest. To be very completely honest with you. I would rather keep him alive than a second horse. I spent the money that I saved on for a second horse on him on a surgery, and I was looking around at multiple clinics. I contacted about 5 clinics, which gave me a lot of good information. A lot of the surgeons, basically all of the surgeons, said that the cyst on the left hind could not be the issue, and you should do more research. All by all, I had 2 clinics that really spoke to me and gave me a lot of good information and a good feeling. One is in Den Ham, which is all the way up north in the Netherlands. I'm all the way south in the Netherlands. It will be 2 hours to and 2 hours back. So that was not really an option. And they called me in time, and they sounded incredible over the phone and gave me so much good information that I kind of wanted to go there. But then there was also Vianova Equine, and that's the clinic we chose. They gave me the same exact feeling as Den Ham. They were really, like, specific in their information, and really, yeah, they were able to explain a lot of things about the surgery. They already did it a lot of times. They gave me a lot of security that this was gonna be okay. And it's only an hour drive. We chose for that clinic, and I couldn't be more happy, honestly. The 20th of August, we brought him to the clinic, and the 21st of August, the actual surgery happened. And when we were there, the 20th of August, holy crap. It's so beautiful there. It's insane. And they were all very nice. Everything was spotty clean and huge stables with a lot of light. So I loved it over there. So now we continue on to the day of the surgery. The day of the surgery, they did multiple things because they still didn't really believe that the left hind was caused by the cyst. It's so small, it can't be. So they did an ultrasound on his left hind, which didn't result in anything. Where do I... Okay, we'll just talk like this. So basically, this is the 3rd time of me filming this video, because these things don't really like to work with me. So I did have the first bit on camera, because I already edited that part. So let's see where we ended and let's go on from there. On the day of the surgery, they did 3 things. So the first one was the ultrasound, which they didn't find anything, but they did think that the cyst on the left side, which on the x-rays they didn't think it was as big, but then on the ultrasound they thought that the cyst was actually bigger than they before thought, so they could actually like do the same thing as they would do to the right cyst. So now the plan was the same for both knees and each cyst. In the evening of that day, they would put him under anesthesia, and I got a call when he was under anesthesia. Oh, everything went fine. A lot happened. But let's start with the first thing. They did a CT scan, which is something they have to do under anesthesia, and then they'll lay the horse in the CT scan and then it'll scan. And they do that so they can actually be very accurate with where to place the screw, so they have a 3D picture of the entire knee, and they know exactly how to enter the joint and place the screw, because that's what they'll do. On the CT scan, they actually found out that the cyst on the left side was actually not big enough to place a screw. The plan changed yet again. But before he actually went into surgery, there was an emergency surgery coming in. Great. So my horse was laying there for like 2 hours under anesthesia with a plan being followed. So he went under anesthesia for 2 more hours than was necessary. I'm not angry about that because an emergency is an emergency, but it still sucks. Then they actually went on with the with monosurgery. And with monosurgery, they first, I don't know which side they did first, but let's just say they started with the right side. They emptied out the cyst because there can be a lot of debris in the cyst. They have to take it out because that will improve the cyst in some way. And then they place a screw. So these are 2 kind of surgeries in one. The first one, that is the emptying out of the cyst. That's the one type of surgery, and they combined it with placing a screw. This was the best option for most cysts, they told me, so they went on with this, you know, combining these 2 surgeries. So they placed a screw at the entrance of the cyst on the right side, because they said that when you place it on the entrance, apparently you have better results. So that's why they did that. I don't know why, don't ask me, but they said that was the best option. That was done on the right side, and then the left side came. Again, we couldn't place a screw there, but we did empty out the cyst. The cyst was emptied out just like the right side, and then they placed steroids right into the cyst. Where before, like at the other clinic, they actually placed steroids just with a needle into the knee. They now went in with a camera and like specifically placed the steroids in the cyst. So this is a lot more specific because they did it with a camera and they could look exactly where to place it, where the other time it was just randomly, well, it's not random, of course, but it wasn't very specific placing it in that cyst. It was just placing it in and around the knee. So they did that for the left side, and then they closed everything off, and then he came out of anesthesia. I got a really nice picture at 10 p.m. at night of Mono actually coming out of surgery and out of anesthesia. He was awake. They called me when he was awake, and I said like, oh, could you maybe like, oh wait, no, they called me when he was getting out of surgery, and then they said, we'll text you when he'll get out of anesthesia, and then they texted me that he was awake, and then I said, could you please send me a photo, because that will really do a lot for me. So they did, which was really nice. I was at a party at that time, so for me I was so anxious. I couldn't really like, you know, relax at the party, and honestly I went home early because even after that picture I was so worried. So the next 5 days that he was there, because he was after the surgery still there for 5 days, they give him fluids because he was in surgery for longer than needed, so that they said, okay, to be sure, we'll give him more fluids throughout the week to ensure that he recovers safely, right? And he got some antibiotics because he did have an inflammation of the knee on the right side, left side? Wait, is that the left side? No, it's the right side. The right side. There was an inflammation and a bump, which they said was fine and would go away with time. And they said like, oh, if in 2 weeks it's not gone, just contact your vet. And, well, in 2 weeks' time, it was not gone. It actually became a little bit worse, if not, it stayed the same, but it was really warm. So in that weekend, my own vet came to check it out. Before she came to my place, she actually called the surgeon to ask what it could be and what the next plan would be. And the surgeon said that it would be beneficial to do a antibiotics trial and then go to Belgium again to get it checked out. So we did antibiotics twice a day for 3 days, and then on the 4th day we would leave for Belgium. So we started in the night that the vet came and then ended on the morning before we left for Belgium. The bump didn't shrink. Neither did it become colder. It still stayed super hot and it didn't go away. Not at all. And then on the day before we went to Belgium, nothing at all. The antibiotics were all empty, so I didn't have anything more to give him. Yeah, it just wasn't gone. And I was really worried. Then the next morning, when we were going to leave for Belgium, the bump was halved in size. Like, seriously. Then we put him on a trailer. I should have taken a picture because, honestly, on the hour drive towards the clinic in Belgium, yeah, the bump even became less. It was almost gone the moment we were in Belgium. So they still took an ultrasound to make sure there was nothing wrong with it. They said it might be joint fluid or just normal wound fluid. Wound fluid wouldn't matter and it will shrink down. Joint fluid, they can have problems with it. It might be a cosmetic bump for the rest of his life. Wow. So we should keep it inside and see what happens, and if he becomes lame, then we put him on rest for 6 to 8 months, and then we take out the screw after those months. Because then the screw has time to work his effect, to actually close the bone, close the cyst. But then when you take it out, there won't be any joint fluid leaking out or something. So that will be fixed that way because the body wasn't really responding well to the screw. So if taking it out will be the solution, but you still want the effect of the screw. Anyway, some sort of stuff like that. After that, we still had 6 weeks of box rest left. So in total, it was 8 weeks of box rest. I will do a little video about how to keep your horse calm in box rest, because honestly, I had Mono on box rest before. He was hell, but this time we had a different approach and he was so calm, and he's not been upset since then. Well, a little upset, yes, but not like rearing up and down, running away from you, just a very energetic. No. He was just calm. He was like, oh, I guess this is needed, so I'll just do it. He was amazing during box rest. Never had such a nice horse during box rest. We started working him because there was fluid in the bump and we couldn't tell if it was fluid that would go away with exercising or not. And since when he went on the trailer, it shrunk down. We actually made the decision to start walking and trotting him earlier, so potentially the bump would go away. It didn't really work out. The bump didn't go away, unfortunately. And to my eyes, in trot, he was lame. This is my first horse. I don't have a lot of experience with lame horses. I cannot for the life of me see when a horse is lame and on what leg he is lame. After 8 weeks, so the 8 weeks check, the moment he was gonna go off of box rest, we did the same bending test as the first test we did to see if he was still sensitive on that, because that would be the key if this worked or not. And honestly, my vet was stood there like, I have no idea what to do with this. She was just like looking at me and my horse, and I was like, please tell me, is there something wrong? Is it good or was bad? And she was like, I don't know what to do with this. He's completely insensitive to it. No, yeah, but so on the right side, he was completely insensitive to the bending test. And then on the left side, he was still a little bit sensitive, but what else can you expect from a surgery? He was less sensitive than you would think after a surgery. So, yeah. Happy me. Why did he seem lame is not because he was sensitive on his legs, but probably because he had so little muscle that he still needed to work that. And we noticed that on box rest, he lost a lot of muscle, but then when he was in the field, he would gain a lot. So after a week on the field where he was, you know, improving his muscles himself a little bit, we started working him, and honestly, he's really good now. There's still some pieces of like his knee that I want to see more muscle before I start riding him. But honestly, wait, that's tomorrow. I totally forgot. I was gonna say next week we're going to the clinic for our last check, but that's actually tomorrow. So maybe I'll just take you guys with me, I guess. Okay, I am gonna bring you guys with me tomorrow to the clinic for the last checkup. Maybe I should call if I can actually film, but we'll see.
Alright, no microphones because I'm sick of it. But I thought this was gonna be an end of the story video. Like, you just gotta heal a little bit more time, but everything is going as planned. But of course, nothing is going as planned. Yesterday we went to the clinic. I didn't film anything. I said I would film something, but I didn't. I'm sorry. We went to the clinic and the trot up went really nicely. And then the vet said, oh yeah, it's maybe a little bit too early to put him on a circle, a trotting. And I was like, fuck. I've been lunging him trotting and trot pulls. I didn't tell her, but then they went and took x-rays. Yeah, so the cyst and the trot up, like the bone in the cyst is so far ahead that you can almost not even see the cyst anymore, which is great. Like the entire opening to the cyst is completely gone. It's already bone, and the trot up was really nice. But here's the problem. Probably the trotting, like the trotting on the circle and doing too much, has caused the end of the screw to break some bone. Or maybe not break some bone, just like remove it. There's just a little hole now. So it's probably my fault, but it can also be that he's not necessarily, like, there's just something going on around the screw. So in 4 weeks, we actually have to go back to the clinic. So in 4 weeks, we're gonna go back to the clinic and they're gonna check like the bone is still disappearing there or if it's actually growing back. If it's growing back, great. We just have to wait a little bit more. But if it's breaking and if it's like disappearing at the end of the screw has to be taken out. Now, luckily, both cysts are almost completely gone. Even the left side where they didn't put the screw in, but just the steroids, there has been a lot of new bone growth, which is great. I just called them and asked for their x-rays. So if I have them already when editing this, I will put them in here. But yeah, it wasn't great. I am not the last person who has ridden this horse. Like in the holiday, the mother of my best friend was riding him. So she has been the last person to ride my horse. But from today on, I can actually sit on my horse and walk my horse under saddle. In 3.5 hours, I am officially the last person again to sit on my horse. So that's great news. I'll include that in here too somewhere in the video. At the end, the cysts are gone at least, or almost gone. The right side you can still see a little bit, like a tiny bit. The most of the cyst is gone, so that's great. And they said, okay, he's so calm, we'll just do a standing operation. So they'll sedate the knee very well, but then they will just take it out while him standing. We have to wait it out. I'm very anxious. I was hoping for very good news, which it didn't happen, so sad. It's still good news, so I should keep my head up. I'm gonna start editing this video more, and you guys can watch me ride. So, I do have to say, this is going to be a to be continued, because I do want to put this video up this week. I'll see you guys in 4 weeks? No, yeah, so I'll give you guys an update whenever I can. If you want more, like, daily updates, you know, I have Instagram. Follow me on Instagram. But if you really want a new update about how everything's going, then you need to wait a few weeks. I'm sorry. I'm so happy I can sit on my horse again, though. I'm crawled up like a baby. That's how you know that I am anxious.